In the peaceful village of Bulu, a young Abiba sits on a tree stump under the shade of a massive baobab tree. Her chocolate skin glows in the sunlight as she clutches a makeshift stethoscope crafted from sticks and vines. She excitedly tells her parents about her dream of becoming a doctor, describing how she wants to save lives and help her village. Her parents smile lovingly but exchange knowing looks. Dreams are good, my child, her father says, but life is not always so kind. Abiba's bright eyes remain determined, unaware of the challenges awaiting her. At just 14 years old, Abiba's world shifts drastically. Her parents arrange a marriage to an older man in the neighboring village. The wedding day is filled with traditional drumming and dancing, but Abiba's heart is heavy. Tears streak her cheeks as she says goodbye to her childhood dreams and steps into a life she did not choose. Her husband is kind but distant, and Abiba feels trapped in her new role as a wife. A few years later, Abiba cradles her firstborn son, Musbawu, in her arms. His tiny fingers wrap around hers, filling her heart with a new sense of purpose. Despite the challenges of married life, she feels joy as she dreams of a brighter future for her son. He will have the chances I never had, she whispers to him one night. 9 years pass, and Abiba's hopes are shattered when Musbahu suddenly falls ill and dies. The village buzzes with rumors that an old witch named Awula cursed the child. Fear and suspicion spread through Bulu, and people avoid Hawula's hut on the edge of the village. Though grief threatens to overwhelm her, Abiba remains strong, clinging to her faith and resilience. Years after Musbawu's death, Abiba gives birth to another son, Yahaya. Holding him close, she vows never to let harm come to him. She becomes fiercely protective, constantly watching over him and whispering prayers for his safety. Yahaya's laughter and curiosity bring light back into Abiba's life, giving her a renewed sense of purpose. 3 years later, Abiba welcomes another son, Aruna, into the world. Her family feels whole, and for a moment, there is peace. Her husband helps provide, but the family's resources are stretched thin. Abiba remains determined, believing she can endure anything for her children. Seeking better opportunities, Abiba and her family pack their belongings and move to the village of Atebubu. The journey is long and exhausting, but Abiba holds her children close, promising them a brighter future. Atebubu offers new challenges, and Habiba begins to realize that survival will require even greater sacrifices. One quiet night, while the family sleeps, Abiba goes into labor. With no midwife nearby, she delivers her fourth child, a baby girl named Sumaya. In their small room, exhausted but overjoyed, she cradles Sumaya in her arms, a love for her children growing even stronger. Life becomes increasingly difficult in Atebubu, and Abiba begins working at a charcoal farm deep in the forest. She straps baby Sumaya to her back and takes Yahaya along, leaving Haruna at home. For an entire week they live in the forest, cutting and stacking logs, while smoke billows from the burning wood. Yahaya watches his mother with admiration, marveling at her strength and determination to provide for them. Despite her tireless efforts, Abiba realizes that life in Atebubu is unsustainable. With a heavy heart, she decides to leave for Accra, a bustling city far from home. She entrusts Yahaya and Haruna to the care of a kind landlady, promising to return for them once she can support them. Abiba arrives in Accra, overwhelmed by the noise and crowds. She takes on any work she can find, from cleaning homes to selling food at the market. Each night, she collapses into bed, exhausted but driven by her desire to reunite her family. Slowly, her fortunes begin to improve, and she starts saving every coin. True to her word, Abiba returns to Atebubu months later to bring Yahaya and Haruna back to Accra. The reunion is emotional, with her sons clinging to her as if afraid she might leave again. Together, they settle into a small home, and for the first time in years, Abiba feels a glimmer of hope. Tragedy strikes once more when Abiba's husband falls ill and passes away. Left to raise 4 children alone, Abiba refuses to give in to despair. She works harder than ever, finding strength in the love she has for her children. Abiba's brother Idrisu steps in to help, offering financial support for the children's education. His kindness lifts a great burden from Abiba's shoulders, and she watches with pride as her children excel in school. Years later, Yahaya becomes a nurse, and Haruna becomes a teacher. Abiba now lives comfortably in a modest 2-bedroom home, surrounded by her children and grandchildren. She reflects on her journey, grateful for the strength that carried her through. Life may be hard, she says, but with thee,